Mike Brown, you're the Managing Director of London Underground. Thanks for joining us here at Tomorrow's Rail. Peter Hendy has talked a lot about and made a lot of changes in terms of the overground service and taking over more of London Network Rail's system. Is that the future for London Underground, really building on the overground network?
Well, not so much for the underground, but I think for transport more broadly in London, it does make sense to have a different model of how we operate the inner suburban rail network. I mean, the metrification, if you like, that we've seen with the overground routes we've already taken responsibility for, I think has made a real difference to passengers. Now, that's a combination of a real relentless focus on minute-by-minute performance and punctuality with the operator, but it's also actually about some coordinated investment planning as well. So that's not to say that at the moment Network Rail doesn't have an investment plan. Clearly it does. It's got control periods where it develops what it's going to do in terms of the investment schedule that it's going to provide against. But actually, I think you need a London voice in that. You need someone taking that overarching approach to London, and whether that is in South London, predominantly served by the big railway, commuter trains, or whether it's in North London where predominantly the tube functions against people to work, it shouldn't make any difference to the commuter.
So when you take over, albeit on a temporary basis, from Sir Peter Hendy next week, will that be one of your main kind of drivers to try to present that argument?
Well, absolutely, and in fact I've already been doing just that. I've been talking to officials at the Department for Transport, I've been talking to ministers in the last several months actually. Indeed, I was in front of the Assembly Committee very recently, London Assembly Committee very recently, talking exactly about this issue. So, and actually I think there's an increasingly broad consensus that it is right to look at this in a different way than we've done before, to maximise capacity from the existing infrastructure by putting in decent signalling systems, targeted investment, and getting more trains able to serve London.
And a consistent brand, of course.
Yeah, well, a consistent brand. I mean, I'm less troubled about the branding. I'm really concerned about the output from a passenger perspective. I don't think passengers particularly care about, what colour of paint or logo is on their trains. I think what they care about is that there is someone thinking strategically about their line of route and parallel lines of route, and also that somebody's thinking about the way they're dealt with. Are there staff on stations? If they've got particularly mobility issues, that they can turn up and go without having to book ahead for support. That they're going to get a refund if things go wrong without any sort of huge convoluted process. So all of that.
Customer focus. And I suppose when we're on the customer focus, getting the best out of the existing infrastructure is a challenge constantly, and you're battling always against the ongoing enhancements. Do you think that the customers appreciate, I suppose, the scale of the challenge when escalators go down and need repairing?
Well, no. The simple answer is not enough, of course, in the individual situation in their station or on their line of route when it's shut for a weekend. But I think when people do see some of the big sort of iconic reveals, if you like, at the first new bit of Tottenham Court Road, the brand new S-Stock trains that are running on the Circle, District and Metropolitan lines, I think people start to think, my goodness, I can now see what they meant with these new trains, this new kit.
But when they turn up at Brixton Tube Station and there's a queue down the road because there's only one escalator working, I mean, that's an ongoing challenge.
But it still is a big deal, and that's of course why you have to, as well as providing new signalling and new trains, you have to also look at how you provide decent access to the stations. Victoria is a classic example where actually that narrow funnel of entry from the main line concourse down into the underground station is a total bottleneck, and that's why people get held up there every morning. We're running 34 trains an hour in the Victoria line. Actually, the Victoria line could carry some more people on the northbound service out of Victoria. We just can't get them down to the north side of the platform quick enough, which is why we're doing, of course, the big scheme there.
Big battles, of course, as the pressure on the public purse increases. Northern Line extension is an example of getting the private sector to come in there and fund. Is that a model for the future, doing more of that?
I think so, and of course it's been a model for Crossrail as well. That was a similar model there, and so I would certainly see for Crossrail too, that's something that's a very important model to explore. And I think the very fact that this is creating for the developer at Battersea a huge opportunity for growth and development, really facilitated by, lubricated by, if you like, the Northern Line extension, I think that's a great model to follow.
24-hour tube is also on your on your list of things to do. Is that a step too far at the moment, or is the capacity there?
Well, yes. I mean, the demand is certainly there, and I think if we're able to do it, we should be able to do it because of the investment we've done and modernised some of the lines that we're going to be running.
But we should be using that time though to get the maintenance sorted out in a more
well, I think we are. We took a sort of well-considered decision to go for the night tube operation at this time. I just think London is a 24-hour city anyway. Right. 200% increase in bus ridership over the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, that's a huge increase. By the way, half of the people using the night bus network network are going to or from work.
Yep.
They're not just going out to party or go to the theatre or go to a club. They're actually servicing the nighttime economy, and that's a really important part of this, as well as, of course, allowing people to enjoy London more.
So a man is going to have not one big job, but two big jobs very shortly. How do you see your big challenges over the next 12 months?
Well, I think it is making the case for the spending review over the summer and into the autumn to ensure that the government recognises that investing in infrastructure, big transport schemes in London and the South East actually does create jobs and growth in the north. That is the thing that will ultimately kickstart the northern powerhouse. It's about London's continued competitiveness in the world stage with other great cities around the world, ensuring we continue to drive the way on growth and growth opportunities. And actually, I think the other thing that we've got to face the challenge of is how we just deal with the increasing population this city is facing almost weekly. That's a big challenge. It's a lovely challenge to have, but nonetheless, it is a challenge.
We wish you well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.